Okay. Um, there we go. All right, we got a full house here. So I'm going to introduce myself first. And again, thank everybody for joining the call and being prompt. I'm going to have a hard stop at 11:35. I think we can get through this pretty quickly. My name is Kevin Clark, and this is really for Dayna, Dayna Womack. My name is Kevin Clark, and I'm the founder of the Dakar. Sorry here, I'm actually in a room where somebody's trying to clean up. Dakar Foundation for the Performing Arts and Dakar Interactive. Dakar Foundation for the Performing Arts is a 501c3 private nonprofit organization. Dakar Interactive is a production company. We've been in business for 31 years, and we are in the business of creating opportunities for underserved, underrepresented, but under the radar screen talent, primarily folks that we find in the educational arena, K through 12, community college, and four-year university, but not excluding alumni who are still looking for placement in the creative tech economy. We started out in music and the Bay Area, and we moved down to Southern California to try and get more connectivity to the visual arts. We've been successful in getting people placed into career pathways that they desire to be in. We've also introduced people to career pathways that they didn't know existed, and we've helped to create and launch a few small businesses. I am now entering into a partnership with an organization called Origin Foundation. And Origin Foundation will essentially be a futuristic partner to help me understand where things are going in the digital media and creative tech economy, specifically looking to help people understand the business of sports, entertainment, and media. I am based in Southern California. I am in Encino, California, but I am specifically looking at doing a lot of work and having a lot of impact in Southern LA, South LA. At some point, I will have a physical space in the South LA area called the Crenshaw Corridor. And my business model for both organizations is to try and create a footprint that will allow me to find talent, not just in the Crenshaw Corridor, but just about everywhere in the world. I want to be a global company. I want to be able to bring people in virtually from wherever they are so that they can actually be part of our growth and our movement. And I think the most important thing for me today is that, again, we're looking really to provide opportunities for people who are talented, but just don't know that they're talented. And for those who don't have the nascent talent, we still hope to find economic opportunities for them. So my goal really is to try and be as focused, but also be as global and as being kind of a philanthropist. We want to be able to help those who are interested in being mentors. So we do have a tremendous emphasis on mentorship. So most of the people that you will find in our organization have helped us get to where we are through mentorship. So that's been a long-winded description of who, what, where, why, and how we hope to be an impacting organization. I brought a couple of people on, Dayna, that I want to introduce, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. You guys can just 30 to 60 seconds of anything that you can to provide some context to how we've met as Dakar and what it is that you can do to describe your vision for success in bringing people into the workforce. So I'll start with David.
Hey, Kev, and hello, everyone. I'll make it real quick, not as long as Kevin, but my name is David Hall. I work for Santa Monica College. I'm one of the career education specialists here. I'm located out of the, I work out of the Center for Media and Design. And essentially, I'm a liaison between the school and businesses. And my ultimate goal is always trying to find opportunities for our students, our current and our alumni, and help them find pathways to employment, long-term employment, through internships, apprenticeships, direct job placement, opportunity. So I met Kevin a couple years ago through some fellow colleagues, and he's always had some really nice events, and always had a nice network of people that I thought would be helpful in helping me getting my vision across to getting students placed.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Okay, Veretta.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Veretta Yancey, and I live in Playa Vista, which is right outside of LAX, I guess, or Santa Monica, or Marina Del Rey. I don't know. I've been in LA for almost 3 years. I relocated, or I moved here from Chicago, where I was there for 25 years, raising my children. Now I have a grandson, and that's probably the most important thing for me right now. I like to work with programs that are dedicated to the empowerment and development of Black people, specifically ADOS, or if you're not familiar with the term, descendant of slaves, American descendant of chattel slavery specifically. And so my goal is to revamp affirmative action so that we get the access that was that we should have gotten from the beginning. So it's Veretta. I'm done speaking. Thanks.
Thank you, Veretta. And Dayna Womack.
Hi.
Can you share the emerging story of Dayna Womack with us today?
Hi, I'm Dayna. Can everyone hear me okay? Sometimes my mic is blocked. Okay, great. I just graduated from Biola University, which is the Biblical Institute of Los Angeles. I graduated with a cinema and media arts degree in emphasizing in production. And while I was there, I did a lot of theater. I've done a lot of theater my entire life. So when I was in high school, I actually created and directed this entire jukebox production. And it was kind of a catalyst for my high school to start taking their shows a little more seriously and putting a storyline behind their shows. And it was from then that I just started telling stories and really wanting to make sure that the stories that I'm telling are compelling and people can follow them and they're diverse and they're realistic. And that's kind of all I'm fighting for right now is diversity and inclusion and equity. The show that I did in high school was it was Equity Fights AIDS. So all of our proceeds went to Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. And ever since then, that's just been kind of something that I'm really fighting for. And it was something that I fought for all through college, making sure that every student film that I was on that was diverse and that women were included and Black people were included and that we were actually listened to because my school was predominantly white. And I feel like I actually made an impact at my school. My face is on a banner at the front of the school now. And so that's kind of my story. I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a producer, and I'm fighting for compelling stories that are realistic to what I see every single day.
Great, Dayna. And in no particular order, I'm just going to ask you some questions so that we can get to know you a little bit better in terms of your here, now, but also your near future aspirations. Can you tell me a little bit about your first work experience? What was it, and where can you remember you having an impact in the position that you had?
Yes. So it's really difficult for me to understand what exactly my first job was because I never had a real job in high school. And when I got to college, I guess my first job was as a video intern, and I would go and record classroom sessions. But a job that I feel like I really made an impact in and I really found myself in was in production and in creative production, being a creative intern and helping a company called Unicorn Jazz, which is an Amazon Prime children's show, kind of come up from the ground. And I helped them create segments, I helped them organize and storyboard. After that, I went on to be a CEO assistant for this company called Hallelujah Nation, and I helped them completely organize and develop their company and find interns and hire them. And I feel like all of that has led to me understanding my administration skills and understanding how powerful organization and being a good organizer is, and how much that can really affect a company, regardless of your position. If you're organized, you can really help your boss and your entire company come up.
Nice, nice. Dave or Veretta, in no particular order, do you guys have any questions kind of dovetailing off of what I asked about Dayna's work experience?
No, but I did want to hear more, Dayna, about your the work that you did in college and how you were accepted. It's great that they were able to start those conversations. I know, especially in a Christian, I'm assuming you said Christian.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So to have those conversations around LGBTQ is a very I would say difficult conversation to have in a Christian university. Did you find that they were more welcoming to have that conversation about LGBTQ versus having the conversation around Black Americans specifically?
I grew up in Las Vegas, and I feel like that is such a diverse place where people are welcome and we're able to have those tough conversations. And so when I went to California for school, it was kind of a culture shock for me, especially because they weren't so welcoming about having those conversations early on. And I always felt like I was this loud person that was fighting for something that no one else was fighting for. And we would have classes where our teachers were specifically teaching us to hate those people and specifically teaching us to be like judgmental. And for me, whenever I read the Bible, it was always that I don't have the room to judge people. I don't have the space to judge people. That's not my place. Why would I do that? I'm a human and they're human too. And once I realized that, that's kind of how I walked forward. And I would always speak up in my classes, especially when they were trying to hate on LGBT people. And when one specific example is when Lil Nas X released his like big scandalous video, we spent an hour in my class talking about it. And I was the only person in the class that was like, this is a music video. It's not real. He's not actually dancing with the devil. You guys are crazy. It's art. Like, it's not that big of a deal. He's not shaming Christianity. He's not hating on anyone. So why do we feel like we have the room to judge when that is what the Bible is telling us not to do? And that's just kind of how I've always seen it. And that's how my parents raised me. We are friends with atheists. We are friends with Christians, with Catholics, with Muslims, with people from Islam. Like, it does not matter. If you're a good person, I will be a friend to you. And that's how I've always lived.
Okay, Dave, any questions that jump out to you that you could bring something out of Dayna?
No, I'm just fascinated with the work that you're doing and your mission. Outside of all the other challenges, do you have maybe one big challenge that you are dealing with now, trying to maybe convey your mission or your struggle, trying to get the word out? What are some of the other major difficult issues that you think you're struggling with right now?
I think something that I've been struggling with pretty much ever since I got into the entertainment industry is just being a Black woman in a predominantly white space, and especially a predominantly white male space.
Yeah.
And just fighting for my voice to be heard and fighting for people to actually listen to me. I've noticed that sometimes I'll say something and then weeks will go by, no one's listened to me, and then the teacher will say it and they're like, wow, why didn't anyone say that earlier?
Yeah.
But I did. And it's making sure that in those moments that I'm saying, hey, I actually said that 2 weeks ago, and I told you that that's what was supposed to happen and you didn't hear me. And trying to do it nicely and kindly without like stepping on anyone's toes, because I understand that this industry is so tricky and that we're all just trying to get a product made.
Mm-hmm.
But in that, I need to make sure that I'm standing up for myself, especially because a lot of times I feel like there's this stereotype that Black women are supposed to fit into, and I time and time again, people are telling me that I don't fit into it, but I'm still Black, and I've always been Black, and I can't not be Black, and I'm never gonna not want to be. So making sure that I'm just staying true to myself and being a good example for my little sister and being a good example for my cousins that are watching me and look up to me, making sure that they know that they're allowed to speak up and they're allowed to take charge and they're allowed to say, you can't say that I'm whitewashed because look at me. And just being that for them, because I don't want them to let anyone step on their toes. So I can't let people step on mine.
Okay. I have a question that I'm going to put out to you, but I want to make sure with this time, you can ask questions of me, our organization, and potentially what it is that you could be tasked to do to help us with our mission. But I'm going to mention two words and tell me what when you hear these words from my mouth, what do they mean to you? Critical race theory and ethnic studies.
Critical way theory?
Critical race theory. Critical race theory.
Race.
CRT.
Critical race.
Yeah, critical
theory.
race theory and ethnic studies.
And ethics studies. I think when I think of
studies.
Ethnic studies. Okay, got it. When I hear those words, I kind of think of all the conversations that I've been able to have with people from older generations about race and people from my generation about race and how we approach people that may seem different from us or people who have come up from a different culture, different time, different area. I grew up in Italy. I didn't grow up in Italy, but I lived in Italy for 3 years, and they were 3 very important years for my youth. I was there from when I was 4 to 7, and that's where I went to preschool. That's when I went to first grade, second grade. And when I moved to the States, I felt like it wasn't a culture shock, but it was just different. People looked at me different. People saw me different. People were like, "Oh, you're not like everyone else. You." Not only did I get a different kind of education in Europe, but I also just I wasn't around a lot of Black people either. So when I came to the States and I was making my friends, I specifically went to people that looked like me. And I found that I was kind of like, I was just different from them. And so for me, when it comes to culture and ethnicity, I think of it as like we all came from where we came from and we should be treated the same because at the end of the day, we're all like the same person. And it doesn't mean like you push away your culture. It doesn't mean that you turn down your culture. You try to change yourself. It's just that like, you understand that maybe this person grew up different than you did. And that's fine. That doesn't make them not a person. That doesn't make them anything. That just means that you guys are different. It's like, I feel like an Americanized Black stereotype is that we all get around at a cookout and we're all gonna play domino together and we're gonna hang out. And I didn't do that. So now when I see my friends that did do that, they're like, "Are you even Black?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've always been Black. Like that doesn't mean I'm not Black because I don't know how to play domino. Do you want to teach me though? I'd love to learn. I love games." But that's just what I think of when I think of those words.
Okay, great. And I lied, there is one more thing that I want to have shared with you. The online application that you filled out, I haven't seen the information, the data, but I want Beretta to share with us a little bit about how that online application was designed and what it's intended to do to help us get more information, more data from people that could match up the archetype of that individual with what the needs of that employer or that hirer could be in taking the next step. So, Greta, if you have seen any of the information from Dayna, can you read it from the information? Can you read from that information anything that you can share with us about Dayna's submission? And then give a little context to how that online application helps to either amplify or frame information that could help me as well as anybody that I interface with, Dayna, to help give her a better match for her needs as well as ours. That's a lot, but just, in summary, just what that application reads for Dayna.
Right. No, I didn't read her application. I did send it to you though.
Oh, okay. I didn't get it. That's okay. Something might be wrong with my email.
But the main thing to your point is that it gives us a starting place to gather information about people and their interests. And it's a two-part application. So one is for the mentor, one is for the mentee, or when I say mentor, we can use this for a corporate organization or the employer, if you will. And so it helps to gather information about them as well to do that matching that you suggested.
Okay. So, Dayna, since I haven't seen the information yet and haven't had a chance to read through it, I want to be clear that I want students, applicants, candidates to get really strong in online submissions for anything that I believe I'm going to help people, and especially help my human resources being able to navigate in that world of online submissions. Tell me about anything that you can share about how you submit information, presentation, stories online.
Of course. I went to school during the entire Zoom COVID era. So online submissions were all that we were doing, especially for jobs and internships. And I interned at a lot of places remotely. And when I was submitting for those things, one, I made sure that everything was curated specifically for what I was submitting for. So I would change my resume around. I write every single cover letter that I do from scratch because I like for it to be, what's it called? Curated for that specific thing. And that's something that I definitely got from school. And even when I do presentations and PowerPoints, I look for a PowerPoint template on this website called SlideGo. And they have really nice, beautiful templates that I'll just copy, and I'll input all the information into it just to make sure that things look like they were specifically made for that presentation. I love for everything to look like it was specifically made for what I'm applying for. I don't want it to be like, oh, I'm just applying for this just to apply for this. I actually care about what I'm doing.
Nice. That's going to be so important for me to find an individual who understands, more importantly, is comfortable with online submissions, online navigation. We're going to be doing a lot of things in the ethnic studies, and critical race theory is going to be very important to our end game. And most of everything we're going to expose people to, and we're going to, at some point, test them on, will be online. Whenever things get back to post or pre-COVID physical classrooms, great. But I still think we've learned a lot about how much more we can do virtually, digitally, and I think it's always going to be a hybrid thing that will allow us, when we have physical back in our capabilities, to add on what we can do to move more information without having to move our bodies. And so for what I'm looking for is someone who can not only be comfortable, but can actually learn how to become a subject matter expert in online presentations, online storytelling, and learn really the business of where this is going. So I'm going to be racing to try to do Zooms and presentations that will showcase different, I'm calling them over-the-top television. Have you ever heard that term, OTT?
I think so, yeah, actually, slightly.
Okay. Yeah, so over-the-top television is where I want to be a impactful presenter of ethnic studies that'll focus on critical race theory because it's a big narrative right now. But ethnic studies is going to be something that we're going to, as a business, try to become a publisher using voice, video, and data to get ahead of something that is going to be mandated in the California K through 12 community college and four-year university systems where public dollars are spent on education. It will be public policy and law by 2023 that every community college student who wants to go to four-year university and every four-year university student who wants to graduate will have to take an ethnic studies course.
As they should.
By the year 2025, K through 12 in California will be introduced to ethnic studies courses. By year 2029, every single person who wants to graduate from a public K through 12 institution will have to take in an ethnic studies course and pass it to graduate.
Just want to get a time check, Kevin.
Okay, thank you. So what I want to do is look through the online submission, the information that you've sent, but I want to match you up with what I'm going to do is create a calendar of webinars, Zoom presentations, internal meetings around our ethnic studies initiative. And I'm going to be paying a nominal fee to start with, $15 an hour for every Zoom that that person helps me produce and then do the analytics behind it. But the Zooms will be the beginning. The biggest part will be us being able to take the Zoom meetings and use those analytics and that data and the reports so that we can help to get more funding and more infrastructure around ethnic studies pilot programs. And so we have a lot of content, we have a lot of collaboration, we have a lot of stuff that we have to do in this initiative. And this person will not just be a production assistant, they will really learn how to become a producer. So we're not looking for people to be production assistants, we're looking for people to be producers, but learning how we do this, there's going to be guidelines from the grants. There's going to be very specific things that we have to do in order to be successful in getting ourselves funded and getting our partners satisfied. So it won't be anything I can cook up or dream up. It will be things that literally will allow someone to help me make sure that we're in compliance with everything that we learn from these presentations and from these planning meetings. So does anything that I say scare you, or how does it feel based on what I just said about ethnic studies and what we're going to be working on?
Everything sounds like exactly what I would have wanted to learn in college. I wish I took a communications course, and we talked about ethnic studies in that course, and we talked about, certain things and how people treat people differently just in their psyche. I learned about systemic racism and all that stuff, but to really help make sure that people are learning about this stuff and that they're really taking it seriously and being able to help people learn and learn in a fun way too. Learning can be fun, education can be fun. And not only that, being able to really fine tune my organization skills and fine tune my producer skills. That sounds like everything I wanted when I graduated college.
Wow. Well, I think we're about ready to contact. Any questions, suggestions, comments before we break? From you, Dayna.
How many days a week do you think we would be meeting to make sure that these presentations are ready and fine-tuned?
Internally, I'd say a minimum hours per week, could be a maximum of 30. I'd say 10.
Kevin, you're breaking up like you're in the matrix. We're having a difficult time understanding you.
Okay, minimum 10 hours per week starting next week because we're rolling into Black History Month.
Mhm.
So I said minimum 10, maximum 30. But through the month of February, we'll be meeting minimum 10 hours a week in preparation for presentations. We plan on having a big event at the end of February for Black History Month that will be potentially physical and virtual.
Sounds great.
Okay, so I will have proposals, I'll have event planning, documentation, and all of the partners I will start to share with you if you accept this opportunity to help DECAR Foundation and DECAR Active execute this event at the end of February for Black History Month. But beyond that, with ethnic studies, we want to work with the calendar, the 24/7, 365 of all the other cultural tribes and ethnic groups who want to promote their pride and their awareness of what they are. And this is a 24/7, 365 thing. So it's only limited by the amount of energy and interest that, again, we can put into it. And the opportunities to really start to become a leader and getting ahead of the ethnic studies policy and law mandates for 2023 and then all the way through perpetuity.
I'm very interested. This is race and ethnic studies is something that is so important to me, especially because I have friends from every single background and I want to make sure that I'm understanding of like where they came from and what they go through and that I'm giving them a voice and time to share how they're actually feeling and what they're going through ethnically, racially, culturally. So I love everything about this and I'd be so happy and honored to help.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use people like Dave and Beretta to help me make sure that we have a employment experience for you. So you get the right forms, and we are able to make sure that you have understood the expectations that we have, and we understand who you are, and can get you in a payroll scenario so that we understand how to treat you as an employee as opposed to a contractor. So that's what we're experimenting with, okay?
All right.
Okay, so look for it. I'm going to look for the data and information from your sheet, but I'm going to start sending you planning for what it is we're going to do with your workforce experience. With your work hire experience, meeting our calendar for even the first week in February. So look for a heavy dose of emails, and please don't hesitate to call me instead of texting or email me if you have questions about things moving forward.
Right. And
Okay.
just to one other thing is that before she gets started on doing any type of work, that there's a tracking where you are tracking the hours so that when she's opening up emails and she's reading emails and she's making phone calls, that they're that it's being tracked under a certain if you're using an Excel spreadsheet or some type of system, but you definitely want to track the hours that she's working so that you have full accountability, because in the state of California, people cannot work for free. There's no volunteering unless they're specifically volunteering. So.
Okay. Well, hopefully, Beretta, you can help me with that, because this will be my maiden voyage in making sure that no one is outside of compliance, and we want to be accountable for making sure that we become experts in employment for young, not just young, but old people, anybody who wants to get into workforce the right way.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Any last questions, suggestions, or comments before we break?
Nope, sounds good. I'm heading to another meeting, but Dayna, with a pleasure meeting you.
Me too.
Good luck with everything you're doing. You don't even need luck. You got this in the bag, and it was a pleasure meeting everyone else. Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dana. I'm sure we'll be in
Thank
touch.
you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
all right, Dana, so look for a barrage of emails. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.